90% of women like this penis the most, and the truth is it has very little to do with what men think it's supposed to be about, because the world has trained people to obsess over size, over comparisons, over the kind of shallow details that make people feel insecure, when in reality what women actually crave is connection, presence, and the confidence that comes through a man who is comfortable in his own skin and not hiding behind bravado or shame. And that is what makes this subject so misunderstood, because men are chasing perfection when women are longing for authenticity. And it's not about whether you measure up to some fake standard you saw on a screen, it's about whether you can bring energy into the room that says, I am here, I am with you, I am paying attention to you. And that is the kind of confidence that makes intimacy powerful and unforgettable, because a woman remembers not what you look like in numbers but how you make her feel when you're with her. And this is why I am saying that the penis 90% of women like the most is the one attached to a man who knows how to listen, who knows how to slow down, who isn't rushing to prove something but instead is present enough to let her body guide the rhythm and let her voice guide the connection. And this is not about performance, this is about partnership. And when a man stops obsessing about what he thinks he lacks and starts leaning into what she needs, he discovers that she isn't asking for impossible things, she is asking to be seen, she is asking to be touched with intention, she is asking to be with someone who doesn't check out the second things get real. And that is what turns desire into fire, that is what makes her come alive, that is what 90% of women want. And the best part is you already have it inside of you if you would stop doubting yourself and start trusting that the most powerful part of you is not what's between your legs but what's behind your eyes, in your energy, and in the way you show up. Because when you strip away the myths and the comparisons, you realize that women are not looking for a number, they're looking for connection, they're looking for confidence, they're looking for the courage to be real. And if you bring that, you will never again wonder if you measure up, because you will understand that what makes you unforgettable is not the size of anything but the depth of everything. Confidence matters more than size, and this is where most people get it wrong, because for years society has conditioned men to believe that their worth in intimacy is measured by inches or by some physical standard that has been exaggerated and glamorized in movies, magazines, and online content. But what women consistently express is that confidence is the factor that shifts everything in the dynamic. And the truth is, confidence is not arrogance, it's not walking into a room thinking you're better than anyone else, it's the quiet belief that you are enough, that you don't have to prove or perform, that who you are is worthy of being seen and shared. And when a man carries that kind of energy into the bedroom, it changes the atmosphere entirely, because she doesn't feel judged, she doesn't feel like she's part of some performance, she feels like she's with someone who is grounded, present, and secure in his own skin. And that safety allows her to relax and open up and respond, because the human body responds to trust and security far more than it responds to the pressure of performance. And confidence builds that trust in ways that no physical detail ever could, because a man who is confident isn't checking himself in the mirror, isn't comparing himself to someone else, isn't asking questions in his head like, am I enough? He's simply there with her. He's tuned in, he's enjoying the moment, and that gives her permission to enjoy the moment too. And when two people are confident enough to be present without judgment, the intimacy becomes effortless, it becomes real, and it becomes memorable. And this is the reason why confidence matters more than size. Because size is something you can't control, it's genetics, it's biology, but confidence is something you can cultivate, you can build it, you can practice it. And it shows up not only in how you carry yourself physically but also in how you communicate, in how you listen, in how you touch, and in how you create a space where she feels wanted and valued. And that is what 90% of women are looking for when they say they prefer confidence, because it's not about ego, it's about stability, it's about the feeling that the person they are with isn't collapsing under the weight of insecurity or overcompensating with arrogance, but instead is standing in who they are fully. And that is magnetic, that is what pulls women closer, that is what makes intimacy exciting and satisfying, because confidence is contagious. When you feel it, she feels it, and when she feels it, she relaxes, she responds, she engages, and the connection deepens in ways that no physical measure could ever replicate. Because the truth is, confidence creates freedom, and freedom is what allows desire to actually grow. Presence and attention create real desire, because when a man shows up fully engaged in the moment, he is sending a message that nothing else matters more than the person he is with. And this level of focus is what allows intimacy to shift from something mechanical into something meaningful and unforgettable, because women are wired to feel connection when their partner is attuned to them and not distracted or lost in his own head. And that's the reason presence is so powerful, because it's not about what you look like or what you think you need to prove, it's about whether or not you are actually there with her in that moment, tuned into her body language, her breath, her responses, and her unspoken cues, and attention amplifies this effect because attention means you are not just going through motions, you are actively noticing what makes her smile, what makes her shiver, what makes her lean in, and by doing this you create a feedback loop where she feels understood and desired, and she naturally opens up even more, which increases the depth of the connection and the pleasure you both feel, and the more present you are, the more relaxed she becomes, because presence eliminates insecurity. She doesn't wonder if you're comparing her to someone else, she doesn't feel like she's part of some routine, she knows you are there with her, and that knowing is what allows her to let go of walls and hesitation and step into full trust, and when trust is there, desire can flourish effortlessly. And this is why so many people misunderstand what women actually want, because they assume it's all about performance tricks or physical features, when in reality the simplest and most powerful thing you can give her is your full presence and undivided attention, because that is what women crave in and out of the bedroom. It's the sense that she matters, that you are attuned to her and not rushing past her to get to some end goal, and when she feels this kind of presence she experiences intimacy not as something transactional but as something emotional and deeply connecting, and it's that connection that sparks lasting desire. And it's also worth pointing out that attention is not just about hearing her words, it's about reading her energy and honoring her boundaries, because when you're present you're not just paying attention to what you want, you're listening for what she needs, and that simple shift turns intimacy into partnership, and partnership is the foundation for passion, and passion is what women remember, not some fleeting detail about size or technique, but the way you made her feel when you were fully there with her, because presence is rare in a world full of distractions, and when you give it fully you set yourself apart and you create a space where desire becomes natural and unstoppable. Respect and communication deepen intimacy because they are the foundation of trust, and without trust there is no real connection, only performance or obligation, and that is why respect matters more than anything else you bring into a relationship, because respect tells her that she is valued for who she is, not just for what she can give you in the moment, and respect shows up in small ways, in the way you listen, in the way you touch, in the way you respond to her boundaries, and in the way you make her feel safe enough to be herself without fear of judgment or rejection. And when a woman feels respected she naturally opens up, because she knows she can lean into the moment without worrying about being taken advantage of or ignored, and this is where communication comes in, because respect on its own is powerful, but communication is what makes it actionable, because when you actually speak honestly and listen deeply you bridge the gap between assumption and reality, and intimacy thrives in that space of understanding and alignment. And it's not about rehearsed lines or perfect words, it's about honesty, curiosity, and vulnerability, because communication that is real makes her feel chosen and included, and that is one of the strongest forms of desire she can feel. And when you combine respect with communication you create a space where she feels safe enough to explore, to ask for what she wants, to guide you when something doesn't feel right, and to trust you with her needs, because she knows you're not going to dismiss her or make her feel small, and that trust allows her to relax into the moment and enjoy it fully. And when she feels that you respect her she responds by giving you more of herself, because intimacy is not about one person leading and the other following, it's about two people meeting in the middle and communicating their desires in a way that builds connection. And this is why so many men get it wrong, because they assume that respect and communication are boring or unnecessary, when in fact they are the very tools that unlock the passion and connection women crave, and without them intimacy becomes shallow and forgettable, but with them it becomes deep, satisfying, and magnetic. And when you ask her what she likes and you actually listen and adjust, when you respect her body, her pace, her signals, and her emotions, you are showing her that she matters beyond the surface, and that is what she remembers long after the moment is over. And this is the real secret to why respect and communication deepen intimacy, because they turn something that could feel transactional into something sacred, something that feels like partnership and equality. And when a woman feels equal, respected, and heard, she is able to surrender into desire in a way that transforms the entire experience for both of you. Emotional connection outshines physical perfection, because at the end of the day what people crave more than anything else is to feel bonded to someone in a way that goes deeper than the surface. And while physical attraction plays a role, it is never the determining factor that keeps intimacy alive, because physical traits can catch attention, but it is emotional connection that holds attention and transforms a fleeting spark into lasting desire. And women especially are wired to link emotional closeness with physical pleasure, which is why so many studies show that when she feels emotionally connected her body responds more fully and her desire increases naturally. And this is where so many people misunderstand what intimacy really is, because they think it is about appearance or performance, when in reality it is about how connected you are on the inside. And emotional connection means being vulnerable, being willing to share your thoughts, feelings, and fears without hiding behind a mask, and it means being open enough to let her share her own without judgment or dismissal. And when that kind of connection is built, the physical side of intimacy becomes effortless, because she feels safe, she feels seen, she feels understood, and in that space her body relaxes, her guard drops, and she can experience pleasure more deeply than she ever could with someone who might look perfect but feels emotionally unavailable. And this is why emotional connection outshines physical perfection, because perfection fades quickly once you realize there is no depth, but connection grows stronger over time and makes every physical moment more powerful, because it is not just bodies meeting, it is two people sharing something real and lasting. And when you cultivate that connection, you don't have to rely on tricks or external validation, because she already wants to be there, she already feels drawn to you, and she already trusts you enough to let her desire unfold naturally. And emotional connection is also what keeps intimacy alive in the long run, because bodies change, appearances shift, and the initial spark may fade, but the connection you've built creates a fire that doesn't go out, and it's the difference between a forgettable encounter and a relationship that feels electric no matter how many years have passed, because every time you connect emotionally you are reinforcing the bond, and every time you reinforce the bond you are making intimacy richer and more meaningful. And this is why women consistently say that what matters most is not how perfect a man looks, but how he makes them feel, because feelings last far longer than appearances, and they reach deeper into the core of who we are. And this truth is what so many overlook, because they are chasing the surface when the real treasure is found in connection. And when you understand that and practice building it, you realize that emotional connection truly does outshine physical perfection every single time. Authenticity is what 90% of women want most, because it is the quality that makes every interaction feel real and genuine. And when a man is authentic, he is not hiding behind a mask of bravado or trying to play a role he thinks will impress her. He is simply showing up as himself without apology, and that is magnetic, because women are tired of mixed signals, games, and performances. They want to feel the truth of who you are, and authenticity creates that truth in a way that no other trait can match, because when you are authentic, you are consistent, you are transparent, and you are trustworthy, and those qualities make her feel safe enough to open herself up fully, both emotionally and physically. And this is why authenticity is so attractive, because it communicates that you are not trying to be someone else, you are not putting on a show, you are not chasing validation, you are standing in your own skin with confidence and honesty. And that makes her feel like she can trust the connection, because it is not based on lies or appearances, it is based on reality. And when she senses that authenticity, she responds to it with her own openness and her own vulnerability, and that exchange creates intimacy that is deeper and richer than anything built on pretense or performance. And this is what so many men misunderstand, because they believe they need to project an image of perfection or dominance to win a woman's attention, when in truth what wins her attention and her heart is the courage to be authentic, to admit your flaws, to own your strengths without arrogance, and to share your thoughts and feelings without hiding them. And when you do that, you invite her into a space where she can do the same, and that shared authenticity becomes the glue that bonds you together, and it makes every physical experience feel more powerful, because it is layered with trust and truth. And women crave that kind of truth, because it allows them to feel safe, to let go, to give themselves fully, and that is when intimacy becomes unforgettable. And this is why authenticity is not just a nice trait, it is a non-negotiable, because without it everything else eventually falls apart, and with it everything else becomes easier and more natural, because you are not expending energy pretending, you are simply showing up as you are. And when you show up as you are, you create an atmosphere where she feels she can do the same, and that is what creates lasting desire and lasting connection. And when women say they want authenticity, they are saying they want the real you, not the curated version, not the exaggerated version, not the version that is performing for approval, but the version that is grounded in honesty and comfortable in truth, because that is the version that 90% of women find irresistible, and that is the version that allows intimacy to flourish naturally.